Hello and welcome to a very special edition of Live in the Hive, the only online magazine show dedicated to theatre across Greater Manchester. I'm Michelle Eagleton. I am here every Sunday at 8 in my garden bar, The Hive. It's quite hot in here tonight. I've got to say, we're having glorious weather this bank holiday, and we thought, because it's bank holiday, we'd mix it up a bit. Are you ready for something a bit different? Well, I hope you are. Stay with me for the next 30 minutes because tonight is all about this guy. Now, you might recognize his face. It is, of course, the wonderful actor Bill Ward. He has been in numerous productions on stage and on screen. Many years ago, you'll have seen him as the iconic bad boy Charlie Stubbs in Coronation Street, or you may have recognised him from Emmerdale. He played James Barton in that soap. And of course, he's been in numerous stage shows as well in the West End and on tour. Now, currently, he's on tour with the Book of Will. That's over in Bolton at the Octagon, and it is wowing audiences right now. I got the pleasure of interviewing Bill earlier this week, and I just didn't want to cut out a single thing. So tonight we've got two parts of my in conversation with. Let's kick off the first part though by finding out all about the Book of Will and what it is like for Bill to star in this show, which is based on a real life story. Well, do you know what? I think I've got to kind of introduce the elephant in the room, Bill. The beardage going on. All right. So I'm assuming this kind of facial hair may have something to do with the role you are currently playing. Am I right?
You would be absolutely correct, Michelle. Yeah, it's a Jacobean thing. It's an Elizabethan kind of Jacobean styly beard thing.
It's looking very smart. Are you getting used to all of it?
Yeah, I do a sort of shaving thing every morning, which is not something I'm used to. So, and we've generally been kind of trying to make it pointier and pointier over the course of the last sort of 3-4 weeks, and it's finally getting there. So,
it's impressive. Not many men can do it or carry it off, and you're doing both of those, Bill.
Well, I have to kind of push it every morning. Kind of will it to grow, and it's heading in the right direction so far.
Oh, well, you know, you've got to do it. If you are performing something that is based in 1623, at the time that William Shakespeare has passed, and you're running around trying to find, you know, his manuscripts and get all this kind of put down and saved for the rest of the world, you've got to kind of go for it. What is it like being in this show?
Oh, it's great fun. It's great fun. I remember when I first saw the script, I read it 4 times in the first evening, and that's a rare thing. It's one of those, it's just a really fresh, bouncy piece of writing, and it's a story that isn't particularly well known. It's about the two guys, Henry Condell and John Hemmings, who were contemporaries of Shakespeare, actually his best friends, and they were the last 2 surviving members of his theatre troupe, who were called the King's Men. And after Shakespeare died, they suddenly realised that no one had ever written down his plays, and so our play is about the race to gather together all of Shakespeare's plays before they were lost, and also actually how it very nearly didn't happen. And so these guys basically kind of run around, speak to literally because nothing was written down in those days. And so they literally go and speak to every actor that is still alive that's been in one of his plays and say, can you remember your lines? Because also to stop other people stealing Shakespeare's plays, none of these things were written down in their entirety, or there were 1 or 2, but not many. Maybe 5 to 10, and in the first folio, and it's the 400th anniversary, and the first folio is the book that they made, the gathering together of all of Shakespeare's plays. There's 38 plays in that, and so if they hadn't done what they'd done, we'd have lost the vast majority of Shakespeare's plays, including some massive ones, you know, Julius Caesar, Macbeth, all of those, that kind of caliber of play would have been lost. So in that kind of a way, it's a really important story. But in our telling, it's also a lot of fun. It's a bit of a romp. It's a bit of a heist.
Right.
They go at speed, these two fellas, along with their families. And we bump into all sorts of extraordinarily colourful and amusing characters on the way. So it's just a huge amount of fun to do. Loving it.
Yeah, I love it. And I think this is incredible that I didn't even know that story, because it is real, it is true, this actually happened. And by goodness, I mean, if Shakespeare's work had got lost forever, that would have been an absolute crime. I mean, as an actor yourself, you know, how has Shakespeare impacted on your life?
Oh God! Well, all of us, anyone who's ever trained will have come across Shakespeare. You just do loads of it at drama school, and one of the interesting things about it is that, you know, we're 400 years on and we're still doing it. He's the most performed playwright in the world by miles. And it's because what he wrote about is timeless. It's about humans, humanity, human beings, what they do, their loves, their jealousy, their anger, their pain. All of those things are written into pretty much every Shakespeare play, but in a way that is utterly beautiful. And he just wrote with, he had a really keen understanding of the human mind and the human condition, really. And 400 years later, that's why you can still do Shakespeare's plays and you don't have to set them in the original period. Pretty much every time Shakespeare's done these days, it's updated or put in in a modern period or in a specific period of time, because all of these thoughts, feelings and emotions still travel through time to the present. And so you can pretty much set any Shakespeare in any time because of the kind of the universal truths involved.
Oh, I mean, it translates, doesn't it, over, you know, so many things, and has stood the test of time. It's brilliant. And of course, there is humour in Shakespeare as well. So I know you're going to be having a laugh with this. Not only that, you're kind of nodding to the globe, because this is in the round at the Octagon, isn't it, as well, which I think is fantastic.
Yeah, it's built for the Bolton Octagon. Bolton Octagon do a lot of their work in the round. They can do stuff front on as well, but they do a lot of their work in the round. And it's going to Shakespeare North as well, which is the new Globe, indoor Globe Theatre in November.
Stunning in Prescott.
That's it, and that's in the round as well. And so it's built for the round, but we imagine a lot of this, quite a few of the scenes are set actually in the Globe itself. There's a couple of very beautiful scenes at the top of the start of the second half, which are set in the Globe itself. So that world, if you like, is very present all the way through. But as you say, it's a comedy, it's funny. It is funny, and that's the first thing I picked up on when I read it. You just go, this is funny. It's written by Lauren Gunderson, who's an American playwright, and it's very recent. She wrote it in 2017, and it's never been done in the UK. It's never been done in Europe. So it's and it's such a fresh, funny, fast piece of writing. It's great. It's a delight to do. We love it.
Do you like that then? Do you prefer, you know, lightening it up? Because, you know, you have played some dark roles and intense roles. I mean, you've had two of the most famous exits on Soap World that have ever been, for God's sake. And I think you've been a Shakespearean villain is Charlie Stubbs, right? Come on, sorry.
Well, it was pretty epic as a villain, wasn't he? He was a pretty thoroughly 100% unpleasant, nasty piece of work on a fairly grand scale.
I think those were the days where soaps used to get, you know, in the 20 kind of million viewers, didn't they? Because yours was the third most watched TV episode that year of that.
Yeah, it was.
When Tracy clobbered you.
Yeah, over the head with a massive ornament.
Rightly so. You were a bad un.
Yeah, it served him right. It was great fun. I remember reading the script. I was wondering what they would do with him. I was wondering how they would get rid of him, and I was delighted when I read that, because I gave them a year's notice. I'd been up and I was living in Brighton at the time, and I was rather secretly hoping they would write something rather extraordinary for his exit, and they did. I was so lucky. They just wrote this just magnificent story, and it just so completely served him right. He was killed, murdered, whilst receiving a lap dance from his girlfriend Tracy Barlow, and it utterly served him right. But I do remember reading it about a couple of weeks before we filmed it, and I just thought it was marvelous. It was just brilliant, poetic justice, and it was just a great piece. It was just great fun to do, but also, like you say, it was kind of high tragedy, but also a bit of farce really in there too. So it was it was marvelous. It was great.
And also, I think Tracy is like a modern day Lady Macbeth. Can I just put it out there?
Yeah, that's well spotted, actually. Yeah, and Kate Ford obviously is the loveliest woman you will ever meet, and I used to love working with her, and we used to live around the corner in London actually at the time, and for a part of it, and yeah, she's a lovely lady, and what a good actor she is. So I thoroughly enjoyed working with her.
Oh, that production sounds absolutely fantastic. And let's take a closer look now at Bill in action and what audiences are already saying about it.
I really love the humour and the little references to Shakespeare's plays and things that pop in and out, which are really clever.
Yeah.
So
the audience feels like they're getting involved on it as well. Like the actors are enjoying themselves, and like the audience are enjoying that with the actors. Yeah, it's a really, really fun time.
There's lots of humour in it, and I like how it's feels like it's changing between times, like old language and new language merged, which is really cool.
It's really funny. It's just a really nice way of bringing it all together in a play form, a comedy, and actually kind of getting an insight into what the players actually did to bring it all together.
It's written in a way that I feel is true to the spirit of Shakespeare, and it's clearly really well researched on the topic and of Shakespeare and his time and his works. And yeah, I'd recommend it. It's funny and it's warm and it's really well put together.
I'm really enjoying the suspense, not knowing what's going to happen next and being kept on the edge of my seat.
It's also like my first experience being in a theatre, so it's really, really nice. I enjoy all the performance.
The show's amazing. It's got a fantastic cast. The fact that it is premiering here in Bolton is wonderful. I think the amount of experienced cast is brilliant. Some of the younger cast are fantastic as well. I love it. Amazing, talented, fabulous. They must come and watch it. It is theatre at its best. It's local. It's the best theatre you can get. It's a stunning building as well, and the show is amazing.
Oh, that looks absolutely fantastic. But I couldn't let Bill go without telling me all about the rest of his career, because this is a guy who has been in so many productions over the years. So I made him stay a little bit longer and tell me all about some of the amazing things he's been up to in his life, and also his sideline, which you would never imagine that he does. Do you feel quite fortunate of an actor, because it doesn't seem like you're ever out of work, whether it be TV? I saw you on the Raoul Moat series on ITV. You were head honcho, weren't you? In charge.
Yeah, Mike Anderson. I'm from Northumberland, and so for me that was a really important job, and because a lot of my relatives and sort of lived through the whole Raoul Moat thing, and it was sort of June, July time, about 12 years ago now, and it was a really scary time. There was a lot of my sort of aunts and uncles were locking the doors of sheds, not daring to go out anywhere. Anyone who lived around sort of Rothbury or anywhere in rural Northumberland, because the police didn't know where he was for quite a large amount of time of it. And so in that kind of a way, it's a story that was really close to my heart, and I was delighted to be a part of it, and actually playing, you know, a good guy. Spoiler alert, a good guy in this particular case. No beard, properly, lots of shaving going on to do that one.
What has been your favourite role to date, though? Because I've looked at all the stuff you've done. I mean, I wish I'd have seen you as Loco Chanel. Talking about Jamie. Oh my God! You in some heels and a wig and some makeup.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I was proper. For those of you who don't know, Loco Chanel is the drag queen, the aging drag queen in Everybody's Talking About Jamie.
Loco would not say she was aging, though, would she?
Well, I think she's aware she's past her prime, but although she would be desperate to kind of get back up there. But I loved a couple of my friends. It really helped me with that, actually, with the walking. It's the walking that's the hardest. I'd never worn sort of 3-inch high heels before, so I was given the high heels for a couple of weeks before we started rehearsal. So I was tottering around our kitchen, sort of desperately trying to stay upright, because the last thing you want to do with a massive pair of heels like that on stage, if you're playing someone who's been a drag queen all of their life, is stack it.
Yeah.
So
it's hard work wearing heels. It's hard
work. Do you know it was, and I mean, you'll be sort of more aware of that than I suspect. But yeah, it's the toes. It was the toes that and balancing on your toes, which you do a lot of in heels, isn't it? They take quite a bit of work, but also kind of swinging. It was because he knew what he had. Loco Chanel is kind of, I'd imagine he was a sort of a cross between Jessica Rabbit, really, yeah, and Kathleen Turner, someone like that, a really sort of fierce. But I loved playing him. He was such good fun to play, and he's got a couple of really beautiful songs as well. So yeah, for those of you who haven't, your viewers and listeners who haven't seen yet Everybody's Talking About Jamie, I don't know if it's coming back to tour, but if it does, or come back into the West End, it is a beautiful show. It will make you laugh, it will make you cry, often within 2 minutes of each other. It's just a wonderful piece of work, and yeah, it was great fun to do. I felt very lucky to do that.
It is brilliant. I am gutted. I missed seeing you in it. So you'll have to try and do it again next time you're getting your kit off, though, later this year. I mean, what's that all about?
Well, I've done it before. I was in the Glee Club. Yeah, I was in the Glee Club about 3 years ago, which is a beautiful play about some miners, actually, who sing close harmony barbershop songs when they're not after they sort of finish work down the pit, and it's a fabulous play, that, and it's a sort of, it has music in it. I wouldn't call it a musical, but it's a play with music, and there's a scene which is really integral and important to the story about them getting rid of all of the coal and the soot and the coal dust, etc. And turning into these guys who sing. So there's a sort of various kind of shower scenes and stuff, and you cannot avoid it. It's really important and integral to the story. So I did that 3 years ago, and so I, in that kind of way, I suppose I have form in this regard. If it's important to the story, and you know the story of the full Monty. It's integral to the story. So there is a bit at the end where they sort of do what they have to do to earn the money.
They flash the light, but I tell you what, if you sat on the front 2 rows, you definitely get an eyeful, Bill.
Well, I can't say I have sat on the front 2 rows. So, but the script itself for that, the story is lovely, because it's about, you know, a group of men who are in real trouble, who do whatever they need to do to make ends meet. So in that kind of a way, it's a timeless story, and it's a really heartwarming script. It's David Pugh. It's a great piece of work. So, and I've had various mates of mine have done that over the years, and done the play over the years. One of the guys in the Glee Club, actually, Kai Owen, is a brilliant actor, and Joe Gill, who I was in Emmerdale with. He was out with. They were both out with the last tour of the Full Monty, which would be about 6 years ago now, 5 or 6 years ago. So, I kind of I know the script well from having sort of spoken to both of them a little bit about it, and having read it myself, obviously, quite a few times now. So yeah, looking forward to it. I'm playing Gerald, who's the kind of the foreman and who's got a thing about gnomes. So yeah, really looking forward to it. It'll be good fun.
You're gonna have loads of fun. That is later this year. I have to say, how are you going to fit in your photography around this? Because honestly, your photography is incredible, and what you did for theatres during COVID, it's just some beautiful, stunning pictures. I love the ceiling at the Edinburgh Theatre.
Gosh, thank you for looking. Thank you for looking. Yeah, that's in the King's Theatre in Edinburgh. Yeah, it's a mural. It's a beautiful piece of work, that, actually, on the ceiling of the King's Theatre. I'm a landscape photographer when I'm not an actor. That's what I do. I'm a professional landscape photographer, and for the last sort of 12 years I've run the two things side by side, and I teach it, and I run workshops, and both for myself, one-to-ones, and also big companies, and I also have taken pictures of every theatre that I've worked in for the last 12 or 13 years, since about 2000, actually longer than that, since about 2009. During the pandemic, when the theatres were shut, immediately, and I started posting the photographs of the theatres that were at risk, actually, into Instagram. And a friend of mine is a photojournalist and got in touch with me and said, "There's a book idea in that." And I went, "Don't be ridiculous. I've never made a book in my life. How would I go about doing that?" And he said, "Well, I'll help you. I'll design it for you." So we put together a book. It's called Theatres in Danger, and I'm going to plug it shamelessly. It's on my website. It's purely for charity. I don't make any money from this. There's a theatre charity called the Theatres Trust, and very quietly they look after theatres behind the scenes to help them out should they get themselves into any kind of trouble. And goodness me, at the start of the pandemic, it was estimated, without the Cultural Recovery Fund, about 70% of theatres would have shut within about 6 months. So it was a scary time for the theatres at the start of the pandemic. So in that kind of a way, it was an important book for me at the time to make, just to do what I could to, in my own small way, to kind of help the theatres through what was a pretty tough old time. And so all of the proceeds from the book go to the Theatres Trust, and you can find it on my website, which is www.billwardphotography.co.uk, and look for the tab that says Theatres in Danger, because that's where the book is. And
honestly, I mean, as theatre lovers, which people who watch Live in the Hive are, I am a huge theatre lover. I was born with jazz hands in the air. It's such a vibrancy, I think, seeing the pictures, and it's quite poignant when you kind of like see them and they're empty, and there's things like, I think there's a fire door one, which I remember, and it's just little bits of the theatre that you don't see, and the way that the lighting is used. Definitely people should go onto that website and buy that book, because it is a real gem. Are you, though, going to be able to have some time, though, to keep this photography going?
Yeah, thanks, Michelle, for asking. Yeah, I always do. And what I generally do is I put the camera down when I'm rehearsing. So just I stop for a couple of months, which is what I've done, getting this show, The Book of Will, up and running. I've basically put my camera away for a couple of months. But now, once you've got a show up and running, and we ran it for 3 weeks down on the outskirts of London and in Hornchurch, and now we're up and running in Bolton. Now is the time when I'll go out and start taking photographs again, and I'll generally take photographs of wherever I happen to be. And that's what I generally do. It's the way I kind of work, is take my camera everywhere I go, with work or with a family or wherever we happen to be. And also I'll sort of make lots of, if I'm not sort of doing acting work, I'll go on photography trips up to the Outer Hebrides. I go there quite a lot. I'm just about to, after we finish in Bolton, I'm about to make a trip up there, actually, for a week. I love it up there. It's just the outer reaches of the British Isles, almost almost like the rim of the British Isles, and I love the quiet, the solitude, all of those kind of things, and you'll see that in a lot of my pictures. You won't see
landscapes, I imagine.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. So I'm doing. So I'll be doing a fair bit of that over the next couple of weeks in and around Bolton and in and around, because I obviously worked in Emmerdale for quite a while, so I know the stretch around the Yorkshire Dales pretty well, and Calderdale, and so I'll be headed in that direction too, and also to the coast, I imagine, around Crosby Beach and Anthony Gormley's extraordinary.
The statues.
Oh, what a place that is! Another place. What a place! What a thing that is! I love that place. So I'll be heading there as well, and just see what I can find.
We are very lucky to have you in Bolton right now, and people should come and see this before it closes on the 3rd of June. We've still got time to see it. Honestly, a hoot, as you say, a little piece of history as well, and just a great night out at the theatre, and you get to see your beard close up. Who could ask for anything more?
Yeah, in glorious Technicolor detail.
Oh, what a lovely guy. It was so wonderful to chat to Bill there, finding out about his career and that production that he's in at the Octagon. It all sounds amazing. I hope you enjoyed it just as much as I did. And if you liked what you saw, then spread the word. Live in the Hive is here every Sunday at 8 on the I Love Manchester Facebook page and the Live in the Hive Facebook page. We'll be back with more theatre news and interviews next week. In the meantime, if you want to find out where to go when it comes to theatre, what to see, what to do, it is all on the I Love Manchester website. They've got all the information that you need right there. Give it a look. And if you also want to follow us on social media, go on, you know you want to. We're on Twitter and Instagram at Live in the Hive 21. Have a great bank holiday weekend, whatever you are doing. We will see you next week here in the Hive. Until then, take care, and we'll see you next week.